Hello. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I thought I would share how I manage my money and the template that I created to track my budget and to also figure out your budget. So I won't take credit for everything in this template. It's definitely a combination of a few things that I found online, especially from two YouTubers that I follow. One is Patricia Bright. She has a channel called, I think, The Break, where she talks kind of about personal finance, investment, things like that. Super interesting. You guys want to check it out. And then also Aja Dang. She shares a lot of videos on personal finance as well. And I definitely used her like old monthly tracker that she would share in my template as well, but I kind of jigged it around to make more sense for me. And then I also created my own kind of like cash flow template that you guys will see. I'll explain how everything works. And just to be clear, in this video, I won't be sharing exactly what I earn. All the numbers in the template are just placeholders of like a budget that I think makes sense. I want to eventually be that transparent, but right now I just don't think I'm comfortable enough to share my exact earnings. Anyways, let's get started. I'm just gonna jump into the spreadsheet and explain to you how I budget as we go. All right, so to get started, I think the first thing you need to do is determine your budget. So I roughly follow the 50-30-20 rule. So it means you spend 50% of your income on needs, 30% on wants, and you save 20%. Of course, if you can save more than 20%, that's ideal. But I think for most of us, this is already kind of hard. So this spreadsheet, you probably just need to use once, or if something significant changes in how much you're making or how much you're spending, you can revise this as you go. So at the top, you're gonna fill in your income. I put 3 levels of income. You could have more, you could have less. So you can replace the text here with whatever you call it. So maybe like the name of your job or like the platform you're earning money on. So let's just say that this is from your salary or the company that you're getting paid from, and then you also make like freelance income or something like that, and then maybe you also sell jewelry on Etsy, so you can change that. But let's just say for salary you earn 2,500, for freelance you earn 250. So this is all your monthly income, and this will add it together and give you that overview here of how much you're making. For savings, I just put saving and like examples of what kind of savings you might have. You might have retirement savings, tax-free savings. I'm sure in most countries there is that kind of like tax-free savings that you have that isn't retirement. Correct me if I'm wrong, but anyways, you can just have your different savings here. These can also be investment, but I've just put another separate investment kind of savings. You might be still contributing to your sinking fund or your emergency fund. If you want to learn more about these, having an emergency fund and sinking fund, I'll link Aja Dang's video below that has like more information about why you should be saving for your sinking fund or emergency fund and how much you should be saving. But for me personally, I have already completed my emergency fund, so I am still saving to a sinking fund, but you can just put that here or delete what is not necessary. Say I'm gonna put every month $300 towards retirement, $200 to my tax-free savings, and then $50 into my sinking fund. So that comes out to $550 per month, and this will show you that is 20% of your total income. And then now for fixed expenses. So I would list everything here that you pay every month, like down to the smallest subscription, just write it down here. So for me, there'd be rent, council tax, internet, electricity, water, gas. You can change this to whatever you want. Your cell phone bill, Netflix, Spotify. If you have any bank fees, I feel like that's a small thing that a lot of people miss. This is personally all I can think of. Also, if you have debt repayment plans, I would put that here as well. So like if you had student loans, you might put that here, how much you need to contribute every month. This is the expenses that you have to go out every month. So these two, I would say they're almost non-negotiable a bit. They should stay the same every single month. And then what you need to cut back or you can be flexible on is your flexible expenses. So this is things like groceries, eating out, transportation, anything self-care. I kind of put that into one category, like getting my hair done, nails done, beauty. Like I definitely don't get that done every month, so it's like every other month I do one or the other kind of thing. Massages, things like that. Also entertainment, if you have a dog, gifts, it's just like certain birthdays, some months, etc. And also I would put short-term saving goals here. So I have a separate checking account that I put a bit of money in for short-term savings. So whether I have a trip coming up or like, something expensive that I want to buy, like maybe I want to get the Dyson hairdryer. To be honest, like spending 700 or like, I don't even know how much it is, but spending however much at once seems like a lot. But if I really, really want it, I'll save up a bit every month in order to get it at some point. And then I also put a category for miscellaneous expenses, because there's always going to be random things that you pick up that don't really like fall under a certain category. So I just put $50 in miscellaneous as well. So I think this is like close to my actual budget, or like the things that I consider in my budget. But yeah, you could have other things in flexible expenses that I haven't thought of. And then in the end, you're gonna see over here an overview of kind of like everything that you input here and the percentages of how much it is of your budget. And then you can see that here it calculated that you have a leftover 113. So you can choose to put this, maybe it's like, oh, I have $100 left over. Maybe you want to invest that $100. So I can put that $100 here. Or maybe you don't want to invest. So you're like, you know what, if I have an extra $100, I'm going to give myself a little more self-care. So I'm going to put $200 here. Either way, you just want to make sure this is not negative. That's the important part. It shouldn't be negative. But this is how every dollar of your income can be accounted for, and you know where all your money is going. I would say this spreadsheet, the credit goes to Patricia Bright. She made a spreadsheet very similar to this. I just kind of like jazzed it up a little with my own style. So once I had my budget set out, I created this monthly budget review spreadsheet. I made the spreadsheet so that if you change anything here, it will change the text here. So, if you see here, if I put income 1, the income 1 here changes, and this all will equal to what you put on the sheet previously. So this is the sheet I fill out at the end of every month to track how I'm spending. So let's say it's January 2021. At the end of January or at the beginning of February, I'll go into the sheet and I'll put like, okay, so my income was actually 2,500. I got also, maybe I got a little bit more in my side income. Maybe I got 300 pounds or $300 this month. And then miscellaneous, like maybe I got my like tax returns or something, or like I don't know, I got a bonus at work. This is where I'll put it in this miscellaneous income that isn't accounted for in my budget tracker, because you just never know what these like miscellaneous expenses are. So let's say I got $100 here just randomly, and then here I'll go and I'll just input if I actually did put this amount of money in my savings. So let's say I was pretty good this month and I did put everything into my savings just according to plan, Oh, what? But yeah, let's say I did do everything according to plan. So, exactly what I plan to do, I'll just fill it in here. Same thing with rent. To be honest, I usually fill out the things that are 100% not going to change beforehand. So like usually rent, I would have already filled it out just so I don't have to redo it every month. But this is a good way to get you to review all your savings all your spendings every month. So especially for utilities, it changes every month. For I think my water bill, or no, my electricity bill changes every month. Let's say my electricity bill was 15 pounds this month. I'll put 15, and I'll put this in a bit of a red font. Yeah, I'll put it in red font to show that it's higher than my budget. But let's say my water bill was like lower. I'll put like, let's say 10, and then I'll put this in a green font. So like at a glance, you can kind of see, how on track you are with your budget. That green is way too bright. Ooh, yeah. And a budget, let's say gas. So I'm just gonna quickly fill the rest out. So the blank spaces are in here are from the previous template. If you like delete those, you can delete these columns, these rows as well. Sorry, there's that row shouldn't be there. Anyways, so you can fill that out accordingly. So for the flexible expenses, I'll actually download my bank statements. I rarely use cash, which makes it a lot easier to track. But I'll download my bank statements and I'll categorize and add everything up. So actually, let's just say in groceries, I actually spend, 220. So let's say in groceries, I actually spend 220. Eating out, I spend 200. This is where like you're gonna see the most differences because like it's flexible. You don't know what every month you're gonna spend. Transportation, 90. Self-care, let's say I went all out. I got like $150 worth of something. Entertainment. So this is what I would put like if I do something like I went rollerblading and I rented rollerblades or something like that. Anyways, you can figure out these categories to best suit, your lifestyle. But let's say I spent like 50 pounds there. I'm saving to a trip, let's say. So I usually will fill this out at the end of the month. It's usually what I have spare left. So let's say I'm not going to fill that out for now. And then, yeah, I spent like 30 pounds, on miscellaneous. So in the end, the spreadsheet will add up everything. So this will add up everything that you're spending this month, like outgoing from your income. So even the savings are included. And then this is how much I made this month. So that's the total income up here. And then in the end, you have a net, income of 420. So there's 420 that hasn't been spent from your total income. And maybe this is where you want to be like, okay, so I have that much extra in my checking. Maybe I want to put it towards like a $200 more on investment, or I want to put $200 to my short-term goal savings. So yeah, that's what you can do here. And I'll go through and just kind of mark it up with what I spent more or less of. You don't have to be this anal about it. I just kind of find this fun. To be honest, it's up to you. So yeah, so like this was less than I expected. I give myself a green. It's like, good, you spent less. Like for something small, like transportation, 10 pound over, I'm not gonna mark it, but just anything significant, I changed the font color. But yeah, so once you fill it out, it's kind of fun to look at all your savings and where your money is going. But this is just good for you to reflect on yourself, I think, and look at how much you're spending in each category. But what I don't like about this is that you don't actually see, like, for example, how much you're saving in total. Like, of course, you can just look at your bank account, but you don't get that sense of satisfaction of like, your checking account going up or down, or like your savings going up or down. So that's why I created kind of like a cash flow spreadsheet. So this looks intense, but it's not. It's kind of a little bit repetitive. I'm sure you can like automate this a little. I didn't put that many formulas in this. I look at this very often. Anytime I have kind of like a major shift in my budget, I'll update it here. So this one I have broken it out kind of bi-weekly, almost middle of the month and beginning of the month and the middle of the month. So Jan 15th, I mean anything from January 1st to 15th, and then the 15th to the 31st. Before, I used to get my income or my salary bi-weekly from my company. So I would get it like in the middle of the month and then at the end of the month. So that's why I kind of broke it out to match up when my salary hits the bank, basically. And then I also find like my credit cards, a lot of them are kind of around that date. So it's good to know that, my income comes, how much I need to leave out for my credit cards. So this spreadsheet, I actually usually fill out at the very beginning of the year. So I fill out everything here based on what I project I'll be spending, and then I'll edit it as long as it goes, so I know what my kind of like my net saving is. So let me just quickly fill it out so it becomes a little more clear. Okay, so I've roughly filled it out to what I would do at the beginning of a year. I would roughly like kind of project my income, my expenses like I've done before. But this one just has everything, including my savings accounts and the totals that are in them. So let's just start at the beginning here. Let's pretend it's January. I have my income here, 2,500, my salary, and then my like freelance income there. Maybe there's some other income, but let's just say in that hypothetical scenario, I got an extra $100 from like a tax return or something. So I'll add that in here when it occurs. This This spreadsheet is mainly for the end of the month when I'm reviewing everything, but this spreadsheet I'll reference like throughout the month, or whenever I have any changes, I'll add it to this spreadsheet right away. So let's say there, an extra $100, and in this notes section, I'll write exactly what it was from. So I'll be like, oh, it was like a tax return. And then here I have things that don't really change: the rent, the council tax, electricity. So if an electricity bill, the bill is different, I'll change that here as well. And then I'll just keep going. The thing that's different about this is that I kind of put flexible expenses all together. Yeah, so for this example month, the total flexible is $940. I'll reformat this after I film this video. I would fill that in here as $940. I also have this row in here where I put my credit card expenses. So typically, most of my flexible expenses go on my credit card, and including Netflix and bank fees. So that's why I have it here where it adds it all together. Like my cell phone bill, that typically goes through on my credit card. So that's why it's placed in this order of things that get like direct debited out of my checking and then taken out of my expenses. I might delete this because this is kind of just my own process. Yeah, I might delete that, but you can do that if that's something useful for you. But just for the sake of this spreadsheet, I'm gonna delete that out. You can of course add that back in if you want to, but I just realized that kind of only made sense to me potentially. But anyways, the point is you get your total expenses for the month, or for the first half and the second half of the month here. And now here you have your savings. So although I have kind of like the month split into two, I'll always put my savings in the same kind of period that my incomes comes through, because I'll like, as soon as my income hits my bank, I'll take my savings out right away. So I put in the values here of what my savings are in the budget. And in the end, this just kind of does a calculative net income. Here, don't worry if it's negative. If you're like me and you get paid once a month, that once a month will cover you for both of these tabs. So you can see if you add it together, it's still a positive. Why I do this is because I can see exactly what's in my checking. So in this first box here, you're gonna wanna fill out exactly what amount is in your checking. So let's say you have, 2,583, like you want to be really exact here, dollars in your checking. You want to add that here, and this will basically start calculating exactly how much is in your checking based on exactly how much you're transferring out. So at the beginning of the year, I had 2,583. And I always like to leave a bit of a cushion in my checking. I'm usually comfortable around $1,000, so I'm just gonna change it back to 1,000 actually. So let's just say you have 1,000 in your checking, and you kind of always want to keep it like that. So here you can kind of see, how much your balance in your checking is going. This is just for me, it makes me feel very comfortable when I know that I'm never gonna have a negative balance in my checking. And then you can kind of adjust your savings and spendings here. Here is where you also want to add in if you have any balances of savings in any of the accounts that you outlined at the beginning of your budget planner. So for example, I have these 5 here, I have the same 5 here, and the way that I link this spreadsheet is that these will change when you change this first budget planner here. So it should be pretty automatic changing across all the 2 spreadsheets. So here is where I put, I have $1,000 in this account, and every time you add money here, it will automatically change the value here and add to it. So let's say if this month you were like, oh, actually, you know what, I don't have enough money to save, so you can just delete that, and it won't add it to the account, the correlating account here. This sounds really complicated, but once you get used to it, or if you really enjoy budgeting, it's gonna be a lot of fun for you. If you don't enjoy budgeting, this is probably not the right video for you. But anyway, so here I have just the 4 accounts, and what's fun is that you can see the totals here, right? You can see how much you're saving in total in that account. And I think it's just really satisfying to look at how much I could potentially save if I keep up with my budget. Or if I'm not satisfied with this amount, then I need to cut back on spending somewhere in order to save more, or vice versa. Totally personal and up to you. Here, I added a column that is not included in the original budget planner because this one is kind of hard to account for. So I added a column for employer kind of like contributions. So if you have like a group RSP or a group I don't know what it's called in the state, but basically the account that like if you contribute 5% and your employer will match that, I would suggest you highly do that if your company offers that. But that's kind of hard to account for because it's already taken off out of your pay. So you can't really like add and deduct. It's just a lot of work. So I just added this column here where it can just add it up. So it's usually like $75 will come out of my account. The company contributes another 75, so every month is okay. Actually I did it wrong, but I did it wrong where it's like adding every week, but you know, it's whatever how much it is for you, you just want to add that amount every single month. And in the end I kind of have a last column which is like, I just called the net worth, but just the total amount of money that I have in my checking plus all my savings. And yeah, it's kind of just nice to see it go up over the year. So it's like if you follow this budget strictly, by the end of the year, you could have $23,000 versus $10,000. So usually after I'm done with 1 month, I'll kind of just like gray out the column so I don't change it. So for example, I'm going to do this and I'm gonna gray it out. So when I look at the spreadsheet, I know where I'm looking at, just in case I need to, like it's easy for me to add or subtract or just add values as I go. Usually like, let's say if I go on a random trip that month and I spent an exuberant amount of money, I'll just be like, okay, here I spent an extra $500, I add 500. And then you can see the impact of spending an extra $500 that month. My checking is kind of gonna dip below what I'm comfortable with, you know, so maybe earlier that month, I won't put $300 in that saving just to keep it the same and keep myself comfortable. Or let's say all of a sudden 1 month, I had to pay a deposit for a new place. So I might be like, oh, negative, you know, 1,250 here. And then I'll write here, it was because of deposit. And then you're gonna see here, my checking is gonna dip too low. So maybe here is like, okay, so I need to adjust my savings. Like I can't save, and then I'll just adjust it to whatever I'm comfortable with. And then when it comes to next month when I'm saving, it's like, okay, this month I'm only gonna ask to add 200. And I know exactly why, because I, you know, put away that much for deposit. And then when I review the month, I'll go in here and I'll write down exactly how much I put savings and, you know, how much I spent. So I think actually you could use this or this. You don't have to use both. It's more like how your brain works and what you like to see. This one, I like to see the totals at the end. For this one, it's just a good way for me to categorize my spendings and where I'm spending it, to see like, oh, am I spending too much on transportation? Did I splurge on clothing? I really like looking at the numbers of things, so this is why I do it, but totally up to you to take this away and do what you feel like is right for you. Anyways, I hope that all made sense. I feel like I just been rambling and it might not make sense. I might have to add some voiceovers, but this is personally how I budget my money. And it does seem like a lot of work right now, but honestly, it doesn't take me too much time. You know, it takes me like maybe an hour to 2 hours at the end of the month to like download all my banking information and categorize everything. And then like throughout, you know, it's rare that something completely out of the blue in terms of expenses will come up that I need to like go into the spreadsheet and log it right away, but I also just enjoy doing that. So even for small things, I'll log it, but you can of course just log it at the end of the month. I think the only issue would be if you're using cash often, it's kind of like hard to keep track in your mind versus like if it's just credit card transactions. Sometimes I have a month where I like go out a lot with people and we split the bill, so I'm like transferring money to them. And yeah, and in the spreadsheet, I'll just go back later and look at the transactions to log it. I hope that was helpful, and hopefully you got a kind of good look of how my brain works in terms of budgeting. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I'll try my best to answer them. I set up this spreadsheet the best I can to make it usable and really understandable, but it might be complicated. If you notice any kind of errors with the formulas or anything like that, please let me know so I can adjust it for other people to use. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this videos, please like and subscribe. It really helps out my channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!